got a touch that lingers on my fingers. I've got a key.
Good afternoon, this is Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. It's Wednesday, the 14th of July today. I'm coming up on today's show. We'll be talking about your Sage Brash email leak. It's coming up after I play Permission to Dance by BTS on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM.
It's the thought of PM when your heart just like a drum, beating louder with nowhere to guard it. When it all seems like it's wrong, sing along to Elton John and to that feeling we're just getting started.
When the nights get colder and the rhythm's got you falling behind, just dream about that moment when you look yourself right in the eye. Then you say, I wanna dance, the music's got me going and nothing that can stop how we move. Yeah, let's make a place and live just like we're golden and rolling like we're dancing fools. We don't need to worry, just when we fall we know how to land.
Don't need to talk the talk, just walk the walk tonight.
Cause we don't need permission to dance.
There's always something that's standing in the way, but if you don't let it phase you, you know just how to break, just with the right vibe, yeah. Cause there's no looking back, there ain't no one to prove we don't got this on lock, yeah. The wait is over, the time is not, so let's do it right. Yeah, we'll keep going and stay up until we see the sunrise. And we say, I wanna dance, the music's got me going and nothing that can stop how we move. Yeah,
Let's break our plans and leave just like we're golden and rolling like we're dancing fools. We don't need to worry, cause where we from we know how to land.
don't need to talk the talk, just walk the walk tonight.
Cause we don't need permission to dance.
We don't need permission to
Well, let me show you that we can keep the fire alive.
Cause it's not over till the summer. Say one more time.
I wanna dance, the music's got me going. Nothing that can stop how we move. Let's break our plans and live just like we're golden and rolling like we're dancing fools. We don't need to worry, cause when we fall we know how to land.
The talk, just walk the walk tonight. Cause we don't need permission to dance.
That was Permission to Dance by BTS on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Yeah, national leader Sir Khan says in the day since Davria failed. Don Bradford raising $300,000 for her demand in a debate campaign. Donations have surged in. Collins has refused to discuss the specifics of a doctor campaign, simply saying she talks to former leaders all the time, including brash stuff attained. An email on Tuesday sent to brash to potential donors in May, a day after Collins launched her new Demand for Debate billboard campaign, which she separately leaked to staff, indicated she briefed Brash on specifically. In an email, Brash said Collins have asked him to raise $300,000 to launch a billboard campaign on treated Waitangi issues. He also donating $15,000 on his own money and encouraging other donors to donate for same key within below the threshold to wear public. If those donations would become public, High Sheriff Shooter's concerns about the implication of a head per report, and he have agreed to trade raise fees funds and also recognise, as I'm sure you do, there's little prospect of a centre-right government but after the next election if National does not attract many of the voters who are seduced by Prime Minister at the last election. Bresh wrote. Speaking to Stuff on Wednesday, Collins said she did not discuss of any details who she or the party to talk to concerning donations, but I'm very happy to say that at various times we talk to leaders, past leaders, not all past leaders. Most past leaders said we talk to them on various issues, so we're happy to take funding from everyone so long within the law, and they are not mongrel mob, Collins said. She said she will repeat this again and again and again as a brush to our staff have been surging donations. What happened after the story on Stuff ran, we've got more people now say if they want to donate to the National Party and help us in this campaign. She stressed unlike the Labour Party, National did not receive funds from affiliated unions. As if she was comfortable with Brexit speedily later legally donate the maximum possible amount without donation becoming a public policy. She had no problem with anyone studying how to donate within a law. This law is not technically the law, so there's obviously no problem with that. Collins launched the demand for debate campaign at the start of the Parliament's second longest break of the year. She will not face Prime Minister Sheldon for any actual parliamentary debate until her House returns early August. Collins told staff she was demanding the debate outside the Parliament because Adu was not answering her questions in the House anyway. I'm answering the questions, she's not answering them, Collins said. She secures everywhere. We're telling her they felt locked out of a debate on big issues because they're afraid they're going to be shut down or called racist. If you go after someone personally and call their name like a Karen or a racist or old and type of thing, that's a fallacy in the ad homely used by your people. When I lost the debate, Collins said, "Name calling is childish." Name calling is also a way of shutting down people who are often quite nervous to say what I think because someone might feel badly of him. I mean, plenty of things I don't agree with Don Brash about. Many of the people, but that doesn't mean I don't respect them as people. Collins took like whenever she had any part or scientific market research on suggesting the public. She heard her on views on the debate being shut down, saying instead she has heard about it in public meetings where the strongest market research and fast visiting all over the country and listening to people ask if National doing any private polling at the moment. As the party Chile for years, polls stopped being shared with caucus in the Simon Bridges era. Brash declined to comment on the email when contracted by staff. It's my own opinion. Brash is a pro-fascist because I know he likes treaty of Waitangi, but he wants to have the Moses abolished if he won the 2005 election, and Israel was supposed to become an ACT party leader, replacing what he had, was actually not in Parliament around that time. So toughen up, Brash. This is what is a leader of National Party Jericho said to Deputy JRD attended the launch demand the tobacco campaign on Carbine Road, Auckland.
for being here today, because today is the launch of our billboard campaign and also our digital campaign around demanding the debate. So we have a website that's set up called demandthedebate.nz, and it is all about the fact that New Zealanders all around the country are telling us that the government is implementing policies and very serious law changes without ever having campaigned on them. And these are changes that will have long-lasting effects on New Zealand. So my message to New Zealanders is get on Talkback Radio, get onto our website so you can see the information we put there about these issues, and also demand from MPs and others to be able to have your say. It is simply not acceptable for the government to just rush through legislation, major changes to our democracy, without actually having people have a debate. And that debate needs to be respectful and it needs to be honest. Well, this is a billboard launch, a social media launch. It's also saying to people, you can have a say. It's okay to have your say, because what I'm hearing around the country, I know Shane and our other MPs are hearing it too, is that people are feeling that they're not allowed to have their say, because if they do, they'll be shut down. So we're saying, no, you have your say, and we've got mechanisms for you to do that. So this billboard is the first one today. We've got them rolling out tomorrow in different parts of the country. And the point really is to say to people, you can have your say, you don't have to be shut down, we've got a mechanism for you to do it, and we'll support you to have your say. You don't have to always agree with us, that's fine, but isn't that part of a democracy? And we think a democracy is actually what people do sign up for.
Right, the next song I'm playing for is Dumb Love by Minnie Webb on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. The fact is, Minnie Webb is a British rising star that really had a top 10 hit with Good Without, but get a treasure on my Facebook on the US pop song charts. But this time I'm playing Dumb Love.
Tattooed on your skin with a safety pin, you and I, we got so high, kissed like heroin. Where do I begin? We had that young love, we had that dumb love, the kind that cut you up inside my blood was your love. We had that you jump and I'm jumping, crazy kind of something, that dumb love. We had that young love, dumb love, young love, running through my veins. You heard that sweet, sweet pain. Oh, I've tried but can't deny I've never been the same. We had that young love, we had that dumb love, the kind that cuts you up inside my blood was your love. We had that you jump and I'm jumping, crazy kind of something, that dumb love. We had that young love, yeah. We had the young love, we had that We had that young love. We had that young love. The kind that cuts you up inside my blood was your love. We had that you jumping, I'm jumping, crazy kind of something. And love. We had that young 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 love.
That was Dumb Love by Mini Weeb on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has been firmly aligned with New Zealand's foreign policy with the United States and worldview, embracing a phase Indo-Pacific to describe the region. The US, United Kingdom and Australia to regularly use the phrase Indo-Pacific, wrapping into strategic picture of Asia-Pacific region as a greater weight against China's growing influence. New Zealand has been a slow adopter of a term. Ardern gave a foreign policy speech to an audience of diplomats and government officials at the New Zealand Institute of International Affairs, standing the future New Zealand and the Indo-Pacific region. Conference be held in Te Papa on Wednesday. The Indo-Pacific is to some degree an inflection point of forms of cooperation need to overcome COVID-19 to require countries to let go of a narrow nationalistic approaches, G said. New Zealand is not alone adopting this Indo-Pacific outlook. Australia, India, Japan, the United States and European Union, the United Kingdom and Germany has also referred an Indo-Pacific region in reaction to a more challenging geopolitics. She said, however, she said Indo-Pacific was often used to exclude some of the natures of the dialogue, meaning China, but New Zealanders would not use phrase subtext for exclusion. Ardern said the world have entered the era of formidable environmental and geopolitical difficulties, and countries across the world face two paths: isolationism and nationalism, or who can ceases of collective action. She said New Zealand wanted a world where there's respect for rules, constitution and international law, open trade and investment, transparency in foreign policy and objective affairs and initiatives beyond borders. Among other serious concerns for New Zealand included self-China Sea, including artificial island building, continued militarisation and activities pose risk of freedom of navigation and overflight. Our success will depend on working with the wildest possible set of partners. GZ, when forming a border lines, GZ countries will multiply their focus to the COVID-19 pandemic. She said a singular focus on vaccinating our own population with little regard to other recipe for variants. And the COVID-19 virus referred to mutations of a virus which makes it more transmissible or fatal. New Zealand will be treated for a new pandemic treaty between countries. She said that would improve global surveillance, validation and early response to trends of the World Health Organization. After the World Health Organization was a weak position and did not prevent the having a global catastrophe, leading 4 million dead and nearly 200 million cases. And if it's what World Health Organization should have declared a pandemic 2 weeks earlier. because we would not be the same position and Tokyo Olympics would have been held last year. And 2020 exciting things as usual have been taken by COVID and probably be cancelled and postponed. In addition, his and response has been making overtures to the US speaking via video log on influential forms of decision makers. On Wednesday, she welcomed Biden administration to the region. We look forward to working with the Biden administration on regional issues. New Zealand's free relationship with the United States has deep roots and built over many decades of cooperation. We share those values and common interests in how we region operates. A major player in the US President's administration, Campbell, been to a event to speak after Campbell, a leading diplomat in the US, has been dubbed Biden's agent and has been strong connection to New Zealand. Even during our dark periods, where our society we look to New Zealand for inspiration and motivation, both as a model and how we can go about our own democracy, but also leading your role in international relations and global politics, particularly in the Pacific, he said. I am grateful for the role for New Zealand that plays across the board while discussion with your excellent ambassador here with your other New Zealand representatives and diplomats. He is constantly reminded our role in supporting Australia and New Zealand capabilities some of China's democracy and economic activities. Has seemed to go against the global norms and values that we're concerned about some elements of a Chinese power and aspirations of the Indo-Pacific. Our ultimate goal is maintenance and peace and stability in Asia, he said. We're determined to maintain that peace and stability and through careful engagement through deterrence and through necessary military actions and through engagement with partners who share our interests. He wanted to see New Zealand take a stronger role in the Pacific, such as controlling illegal fishing and engagement in security, and even taking on peacekeeping. Probably the country needs to do more. It's not New Zealand, it's the United States. He said maintaining current status quo across the Taiwan Strait of freshwater tension between Taiwan and China, and in the South China Sea is in the best interest of all countries. Prior to the United States, New Zealand has embraced in the Pacific view of the world. In the foreign policy speech,
Te wharai e tūnei, te marae e tā koto ana, tina koroa, I ne mate amaha, haere, haere, haere. Nā tangata whenua o tēnei rohi, tina koutou. Tātou nā kānohi e hui mai ana, tina koutou, tina koutou, tina tātou katoa. Good morning, and Surinand, and to all of the team who have brought us together today, can I say thank you to our many distinguished guests, and that are many of you, welcome, and to all of those who have joined us from further afield, particularly our young people, I welcome you also. It is a great pleasure to attend an event on such an important topic as New Zealand's future in the Indo-Pacific region. And I am encouraged, as Surinand referenced in the beginning, I am encouraged to see so many young people here for this conversation as well. But I'm also not surprised. As a high school student, I was fascinated by global politics. And at university, it wasn't domestic politics I primarily studied. It was, in fact, international relations. In fact, I'm not sure I've shared this with MFAT before, but as a student at Waikato University, I recall one day seeing a flyer advertising that representatives from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade would be on campus as part of their graduate recruitment program. I took down the details, and when the day arrived, I joined literally hundreds of others as we piled into a fairly packed lecture theatre to hear about what it took to be a diplomat. This was some years ago, but while I don't recall all of what was said, I do recall two very important words: double degree. I walked out of that lecture theatre and decided that the entry criteria was a little too high for me. Apparently, I didn't apply that same logic for any of the other roles I have taken on since. Over the years, it has struck me, though, how interested not just our young people, but our nation is in the politics and decision-making of others. Now, it's easy to assume that all countries would take that level of interest that we do in global affairs, but I can tell you that in my experience, they don't. How many other countries would, for instance, factor in the timing of another country's election in relation to our own? I'm still convinced that the last two American elections have probably captured people's attention to the same degree, if not more, than our own elections have. Now, I can think of two reasons why this level of global interest persists in New Zealand. The first is size. We have an acute sense of our place in the world. But secondly, it's that we all too often have experienced the impact of others' decisions on us. The testing of nuclear weapons, dramatic changes in economic policy, war. We may be far from others, but we are not and have never been isolated from the impacts of global politics. And you can see this acute sense of self and others in the fundamentals of New Zealand's foreign policy. Many of our current settings were established by Prime Minister Peter Fraser, who was instrumental in establishing the United Nations under some of the most challenging international conditions imaginable. Peter Fraser recognised, for instance, that a lasting peace depended on a successful United Nations that collectively protected the sovereignty and independence of small countries. Now, those fundamentals remain, and they have only been further reinforced by successive global challenges. We have entered an era of formidable environmental, health, and geopolitical difficulties. And in this era, each nation is faced with choices. We either ignore the impact our domestic decisions have on others and choose the path of isolationism and nationalism, or we take the view that concerted collective action is the necessary response to the many global challenges that we face. Here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, the environment in which we are making our foreign policy decisions has changed, but the values we use to make those decisions has not. Now, I want to spend a bit of time today talking about the environment that we're operating in and how we steady our ship in what often feels like turbulent seas, but with a particular focus on your area of interest today, the Indo-Pacific. To start, I have a question for you. Where do you see our place in the world? Now, if you were to ask me, I would give you a very literal and, for me, a surprisingly short answer. The Pacific. This is our home. It is the region we most squarely identify with. We very literally share a population base. And that's why when we came into government, we focused immediately on lifting New Zealand's engagement with the Pacific region, delivering greater investment and building long-term partnerships. Looking forward, we're focused on long-term resilience with a high degree of Pacific ownership and innovation. But again, those relationships for us in the region are so key. But the Pacific itself is an increasingly contested region. And so to understand that complexity and to respond to it, we also see the Indo-Pacific as central to our interests. We have embraced the concept of an Indo-Pacific as the wider home for New Zealand, locating Aotearoa in a larger ecosystem of nations and regions that includes East Asia, the Pacific, the Indian subcontinent, and the Pacific Rim. Māori tupuna voyaged through the region. More recent waves of migration have further entrenched this connection. But it is a region of incredible diversity and incredible change. The Indo-Pacific includes highly advanced economies: Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, the United States and Canada. China remains an engine of global growth and one of our most significant, but also one of our most complex relationships. One that I could spend a whole speech on, but for those interested, I'd refer you to my China Business Summit speech a few months ago as I traverse everything from trade to Xinjiang to Hong Kong. Within the region, again, Australia, New Zealand's indispensable partner and ally with a strong track record of contributing in the region, sits at the intersection of both the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Then there's the rapidly growing and demographically young countries of ASEAN, 650 million people and a rapidly expanding middle class. With all of this regional diversity, New Zealand is not alone in adopting an Indo-Pacific outlook. The 10 countries of ASEAN plus Australia, India, Japan and the US, the European Union, the UK, Germany have also referred to an Indo-Pacific region in reaction to more challenging geopolitics. But while we welcome the concept of an Indo-Pacific region, we do so based on the principles that have served New Zealand well and are consistent with our values. From New Zealand's perspective, these fundamental principles will be familiar to many of you, but please indulge me as I traverse them again. Respect for rules, consistency with international law, including the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, freedom of navigation and overflight.
Oh, I have to leave it. So I'm going to tell you about the South Africa rise after I played. I kinda pop featured Charlie XCX, I love it on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM.
I got this feeling on the summer day when you were gone. I crashed my car into the bridge. I watched, I let it burn. I threw your shit into a bag and pushed it down the stairs. I crashed my car into the bridge. I don't care. I love it. I don't care. I got this feeling on the summer day when you were gone. I crashed my car into the bridge. I watched, I let it burn. I threw your shit into a bag and pushed it down the stairs. I crashed my car into the bridge. I don't care. I love it. I don't care. You're on a different road. I'm in the Milky Way. You want me down on Earth, but I am up in space. You're so damn hard to please. We gotta kill this switch. You're from the 70s, but I'm a 90s bitch. I love it. I love it. I got this feeling on the summer day when you were gone. I crashed my car into the bridge. I watched, I let it burn. I threw your shit into a bag and pushed it down the stairs. I crashed my car into the bridge. I don't care. I love it. I don't care. I love it. I love it. I don't care. I love it. I don't care. You're on a different road. I'm in the Milky Way. You want me down on Earth, but I am up in space. You're so damn hard to please. We gotta kill this switch. You're from the 70s, but I'm a 90s bitch. I don't care. I love it. I don't care. I love it. I love it. I don't care. I love it. I don't care. I love it. I love it. I don't care. I love it.
That was there was a lover by I can't bother and Alex X on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. A mother in South Africa threw her child from a burning building into the arms of rescuers. Sorry, a mother in South Africa threw her child from a burning building into the arms of rescuers as riots escalated in Dubai on the country's east coast. Media outlets captured a moment a woman juggled a child off the edge of a roof before throwing it down in a group of around half a dozen people. A mother and child were reunited, the child believed to be safe. Riots erupted across South Africa following former President Jacob Zuma for refusing to appear in court to face corruption charges. At least 72 people have been killed and over 1,200 arrested. Many deaths in Gajiang and Natal provinces occurred in a chaotic stampede as thousands of people stole food, electric appliances and liquor clothing from stores, officials said. Gonna tell you that disturbing video.
I love me, but I can put no one else above me. I'm on 3 stacks.
Versus a place Erica tried to control protests and some looters.
يعني 1 2 3
Jeez, Serica must be in a littered shambles. The video sources taken from CBC News in Canada. I'm going to tell you the European countries so by population after I played. After I played, it's a sin by Petra Boys on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM.
20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is okay.
It's sent by Peach Boys on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. For top 10 countries by population in Europe. The ranking here is determined by given population for available national figures. For some countries, these are estimated somewhat out of date, so if the ranking of population are very close to population, it's approximate. In those published in US population growth PCS of 2019, which based on census population registers and surveys and other statistics. Number 10, Romania with a population of 90,533,821. Number 9, Poland with 38,433,600. Number 8 for Ukraine with 41,588,354. Number 7, Spain with 46,733,038. Number 6, Italy with 60,560. Number 5 for United Kingdom with 66,796,807. Number 4, France with 67,076,000. Number 3, Germany with a population of 83,129,363. Number 2, Turkey with 8,118,618. But on a small area just west of Istanbul Sea is in Europe. The other one's technically in Asia. And number 1, Russia with 145,925,025. And the next song I'll be playing is Galantis, Runaway, You and I.
Think I can fly. Think I can fly when I'm with you. My arms are wide, catching fire as the wind blows. I know that I'm rich enough for pride. I see $1 billion in your eyes, even if we're strangers till we die.
There was Runaway UNO by Glunters on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM. The fact of the day is some sea snakes can breathe through their skin. You may think that just fish have gills, but there are several species of sea snake that breathe through their skin as well. For example, the Hydroxynogus have been found to breathe through on the top of its head, in a small hole and a collection of blood vessels at the top of the head for picking up oxygen from the sweater and sending it to the reptile's brain while it moves underwater. Right, the final song is it will be one of my favorite songs is Brutal by Olivia Rodrigo on Sheldopedia on Arrow FM.
Insecure, I think that I'll die before I drink. And I'm so caught up in the news of who likes me and who hates you. And I'm so tired that I might quit my job, start a new life. And they'd all be so disappointed, cause who am I if not exploited? And I'm so sick of 17. Where's my fucking teenage dream? If someone tells me one more time, enjoy your youth, I'm gonna cry. And I don't stick up for myself. I'm anxious and nothing can help. And I wish I'd done this before. And I wish people liked me more. All I did was try my best. It's the kind of things I did. I'm relentlessly upset. They say these are the golden years, but I wish I could disappear. Ego crush is so severe. God, it's brutal out here. I feel like no one wants me, and I hate the way I'm perceived. I only have 2 real friends, and lately I'm a nervous wreck, cause I love people I don't like, and I hate every song I write. And I'm not cool and I'm not smart, and I can't even parallel park. All I did was try my best. It's the kind of things I did. I'm relentlessly upset. They say these are the golden years, but I wish I could disappear. Ego crush is so severe. God, it's brutal out here.
This is bloody a rock out song. Brutal is. She's Olivia's gonna be a great rock star one day. And the guitar but there's a guitar riff have been ripped off as Elvis Costello's puppets but I don't even know everything about it. So one more thing before I go, I'm gonna tell you the harsh opinion is when a Labour government is getting into shambles or gaining popularity, then National Party in rotation will probably hijack their voters, especially around in the poor areas, and give it another landslide victory in the 2020 elections. After I read that National Party's gaining donations after after Joe Cox have talked to affair with Don Brash, who's been National Party leader in the 2000s, the guy who almost won an election in 2005, claiming that and also didn't mind that he used to be involved with a mongrel mob and strongly opposes Murray separation. And if and National Party will win its election next time because we'll have to elect the new leader sometime to ask one, and because we'll probably resign from Parliament any time from now on. And cause it just and replace will be probably Chris Luxon, which will probably surge in the polls and probably due to National's massive landslide victory win, even supported one for poor families. Probably cause Jacinda Mania to be over and suffered her defeat in a huge way. Oh, God, the Labour government's over only delivering that to the poor people. Like, I'm a Labour supporter, but being on a bit of it is actually good for me and able to give you a more fulfilled life that ever you want. Now, advised by National Party who favour tax cuts to better off for rich people. So let's go that way next time. Because that's it for Sheldopedia. I'll see you next Friday. Bye bye. Sorry, next Wednesday. Bye.